Welcome to Terrifying Tales, the channel dedicated to bringing you original horror stories. Apocalypse of the Wolf, Chapter 1. I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. Albert Einstein. The wind whipped at Dana Sterling's face as she gripped the reins of her horse. Her white cloak trailed behind like a sail caught in the breeze. Dana was one of 8 riders on this mission, part of the 14th Reaver Regiment, 2nd Platoon. The 1st platoon was overdue. A mother and her children arrived at Elmwood from the farming village of Rainwell just before sunrise. Rainwell had been attacked. The mother and children were terrified. They made no sense. What little they did relay was concerning. The walls of Rainwell had held for years. There were instances of minor attacks, but nothing ever big enough to take out an entire village. Commander of the Reavers, John Hunter, sent his best to investigate. The entire 1st platoon, led by Ada Sawano. Rainwell was an hour's ride from Elmwood. When nightfall came with no word from the 1st, John asked for a handful of volunteers from the 2nd to investigate. Dana gritted her teeth as she eyed her brother Roy, riding beside her. He was the reason she was riding in the dark. When the call for volunteers came, Roy was the first to raise his hand. Dana had no choice. The promise she made to their father echoed through her mind. Her eyes drifted to the crescent moon in the sky, blood red against the black backdrop. Dana slowed her horse to pace with Captain Hoover's. The village is just ahead in the clearing. He jumped to the ground and unsheathed his blade. We'll fan out and head in on foot. Use the tree line as cover. Dana clutched Roy's arm. Stay where I can see you. I'll be fine, he shrugged her off. The Reavers broke and circled the high timber walls of Rainwell. In pairs, they entered through the 4 open gates. The village was too quiet. Even this late in the evening, there should have been signs of life. Candlelight creeping around shuttered windows, horses settling, the odd drunken shout of merriment. Something was off. Vulnerability swept through Dana as she passed by the high timber walls. The white cloaks broke from the gates, even distance apart. They all converged in the centre of Rainwell. "Where is everybody?" Connors asked. Even in the darkness, Dana could see the fear in his eyes as the words left his mouth. "I mean, shouldn't our guys be here, Captain?" It wasn't like Hoover to be unsure. "Fan out and go door to door. Report back to me if you find anything." Dana and the others started to move. Watch each other's backs. "What are you doing?" Roy noticed Dana beside him. "This'll go a lot quicker if we split up." "No chance," Dana replied. "You're staying where I can see you." Like an earthquake, the ground throughout the village shook. They tore free from the dirt and launched into the air. "Ambush!" Hoover called. The team drew their weapons, heavily outnumbered, but they were the best. Glowing eyes focused on the young warriors from every direction. Dana pressed her fingers around the leather grip of her silver chain whip. Her breath held as she scanned the rooftops. She let it out when she saw only white eyes. "We may make it out of this yet. Stay with me." Roy gave his sister a nod and pulled the pair of curved blades from his belt. The stalemate ended with a snarl as the first wolf leapt from the rooftop, claws extended, arms pulled back. The wolf stopped dead as the whip wrapped around its throat and crumpled to the ground. Dana retracted the whip, tearing the wolf's head from its body. A collective howl rose around Rainwell. Here we go, Hoover cried. The wolves moved as one as they launched at the 8. The air filled with the sound of steel and claws. Roy slid across the ground, slashed forward. Blood covered his white cloak as the 2 wolves dropped dead behind him. "There's too many!" someone cried, followed by a guttural scream of agony. Hoover ducked as the slash passed over his head. His sword flashed and the wolf fell dead beside him. "Drop back to the well!" Dana's whip wrapped around a clawed foot. She pulled back, tearing the foot clean off. The wolf fell forward. The sound of splintered bone followed as its head exploded beneath Dana's boot. She turned at the weight on her shoulder, stopping a fist short of Roy's face. "Come on! Hoover wants us at the well!" Roy's ragged breath filled Dana's ears as they sprinted for the well. They ducked and slid without breaking stride as countless claws scratched and slashed. Hoover was by the well with 2 others. "Keep the well at your back. They can't get behind us. These fuckers don't stand a chance." Dana's heart sank in her chest as the sound reverberated from the walls of the well. "Alpha!" The towering black wolf emerged from the well, eyes red as fire. It charged toward Dana. Roy knocked her out of the way. "No!" The claws of the alpha tore through Roy's stomach and chest. He dropped to his knees. His eyes found his sister. Roy tried to speak, but only blood came out. He fell face first, lifeless, into the dirt. Dana charged forward. The alpha swatted her away like a fly. Her head crashed into the stone of the well. She remained conscious long enough to see the alpha tear Hoover's head from his shoulders, and the 2 remaining white cloaks disappear through the wooden gate toward the tree line. As darkness closed in, Dana's eyes fell on her brother's body, and her ears filled with the blood-curdling call of the alpha. This was a sound Dana had heard before. As the air filled with the sound of thunderous footsteps, her mind grasped at the memory from a different time, and a promise that was made. Warmth of the sun's rays drifted through the open shutters of the window. Roy pulled the quilt over his head in a futile attempt to ward off the day. "Come on, it's time to get up." Dana's tiny fingers tugged at Roy's quilt. He groaned beneath. "Just a few more minutes." "No, Father is waiting." With a final tug, Dana ripped the quilt to the floor, revealing her younger brother. Wonder filled her. Roy was 9, but could pass for a boy of 5. She didn't understand. Roy was well fed, but his body refused to put on any weight. "Hurry it up!" their father called from below. "Fine," Roy groaned, stretching his arms above his head. The pair hurried downstairs to their father. "Can I grab something to eat first?" Roy asked. Max smiled at his son, unsurprised. "Take it on the go." Roy grabbed a sweetbread. It was gone before the front door of the cottage opened. The village was already buzzing. Kids were playing. Horse-drawn carriages rolled by, carting things for trade. Dana hid her jealousy. She longed for the freedom enjoyed by the other village children. The decision to hide her jealousy was not one made by pride. Her father did his best to raise her and Roy. With their mother dead, it was a battle to keep them living. A task their father wouldn't be able to perform if she and Roy didn't do their part. The final war, or as the adults called it, World War III, ended before she was born. Her father didn't speak about it much. What Dana learned was that the world used to be a different place. Her father, sometimes if she were lucky, would speak of computers that held all manner of answers to questions right in people's pockets. Or he would reminisce about stories he called movies that played on electric screens for enjoyment, of things called cars and planes that carried people long distances by road or air, with no need for days of planning to travel or animals to move them. The war was the reason these things no longer existed. Their father was not a person who drank, except for one night. On that night, Dana learned all she thought she would about the final war. Her father spoke of people drunk on power and an eagerness to control the entire world. Great countries fought against others for control of land, or more importantly, what the ground held. Father told us some of those in power lacked compassion and reasoning, and the others failed to identify the danger. In the blink of an eye, the world crumbled. Armies prove useless once the tempers of a certain few individuals frayed. Many predicted the world would end at the press of buttons and nuclear war. They were wrong. Man-made plagues crippled humanity. Chemical war carried on the wind. Sickness spread, killing millions upon millions. Infrastructure collapsed with no one left to run it. Generational knowledge destroyed. In final acts of desperation, that's when the nukes launched. Not a major city remained untouched. Dana understood that it all could have ended at that point. Nuclear winter, her father had called it. But through pure luck, a few small areas somehow remained untouched. Entire histories were destroyed in the devastation. Only 1% of the population survived, and nobody over the age of 13 lived. No one knew why, but those under the age of 13 were immune to the sickness. But there was no one left capable of rebuilding what was gone. Father called it travelling back in time. Dana thought often of her father's story, and of how lucky she was to be alive, seeing as her parents had been part of the 1%. She couldn't remember her mother. Dana was 2 years old when she passed. She died giving birth to Roy. Her father missed her. Poppy was her name. Dana often caught her father speaking to her when he thought he was alone. "Can we have the day off?" Roy asked. Max laughed. "I'll make you a deal. Once we're done with the horses, you two can go and play and I'll do the rest." Roy's face beamed. "Let's hurry. We can go for a swim in the river, Dana." "Huh?" Dana, lost in thought, hadn't been paying attention. "We can go for a swim when we're done with the horses." "Oh. Okay." "Gee, don't get too excited," Max chuckled. The water of the river was cool to the touch as Dana dipped her feet. Roy's laughter carried across the riverbed as he splashed. River Douglas was one of the last remaining fresh water sources in the world. The river provided water to many villages, from their own small nameless one to Rainwell, Elmwood, and all the way to the capital of Riverwall. Many children from the village had the same idea as Roy to escape the heat. Dana noticed some other girls giggling in her direction. She felt a flush in her cheeks as her eyes dropped to her tattered brown skirt and back to their nice summer dresses. Dana's heart skipped a beat. Screams carried from the village close by. The girls' giggling stopped. They screamed as the monsters rushed toward the riverbed. Dana sat motionless, eyes wide. Her father had described wolves to her before. These creatures reminded her of that description. Black fur, large claws, long snouts filled with sharp teeth. But it couldn't be. The wolves described by her father were no bigger than a large dog and walked on 4 legs. These were bigger than any man and stood on 2 legs. The giggling girls' screams were high-pitched as claws painted their pretty summer dresses red. "Come on, Dana!" Roy tugged at his sister's sleeve. "We need to get help!" Dana grabbed her brother's arm and led him to the trees. "What are those monsters?" Roy cried as he ran. "I don't know," Dana replied. "We have to get to father." The village was unrecognisable as Dana and Roy broke through the tree line. The place was crawling with snarling monsters. People were being torn apart and eaten alive in the dirt. Trent Barkley put a pitchfork straight through the chest of one. Dana was close enough for the blood to spatter her skirt. Trent's eyes grew wide as the wolf stood tall. The beast slashed forward, opening Trent's face up. Dana let out a scream and led Roy around as the beast pounced on top of Trent. "Kids!" Max yelled as Dana and Roy entered the stables. "I'm glad you're okay." "What are they?" Roy yelled. "I don't know," Max replied, "but we're getting out of here." Max already had a horse saddled. He picked up Roy and placed him in the saddle. Max lifted Dana up behind him. He set to work saddling a second horse. "When we ride out of here, don't stop for anything." Dana was in shock. Max shook her. "Did you hear what I said, Dana?" She nodded. "No matter what happens, always remember I love you both. If I don't make it out, promise me, Dana. Promise me you'll protect Roy no matter what." Dana kept silent. "Promise me, Dana. Say the words." "I promise." darkness. The ceiling of the stable exploded. 3 wolves dropped into the hay-covered floor. "Go!" Max screamed. He smacked the rear of the horse and sent it on its way. "Dad!" Roy screamed as they rode from the stable. Their father's scream carried over the chaos around them as they made their way for the tree line. Wolves slashed and snarled at the horse. The horse required no rider to lead. It weaved and jumped from harm's way as the children held on for dear life. Dana turned back to see a wolf larger than the others at the centre of the village. Deep red eyes of fire. Dana came to with the memory fresh in her mind. The sun was rising in the distance. Where am I? It flooded back. Roy. She crawled from the well to her brother's still body. Her worst fears confirmed as she rolled him over. A man grown, Dana still saw the same tiny boy she'd seen clutching his quilt that summer's morning. She understood she'd failed to keep her father's promise. They're heading for Elmwood. A tear rolled down her cheek. The salt taste touched her lip. Your death will be avenged, brother. Dana coiled her silver chain whip to her belt and sprinted for the gate. If you liked what you heard, please like and share the video. Please leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. And remember, the dark plays tricks with our minds, but sometimes it's not a trick. Sometimes there really is something.